have accomplished the things that I have in the military. And I don't stop there with the perception. What I do additionally is I communicate that to someone else, because oftentimes we're able to talk to ourselves and we say it, internally, but it's more powerful when we...
Awe Genge, this is Mental Mythos, hosted by Asego Toto. I believe that through such conversation is very helpful to create awareness around mental health as a whole. And as someone of you who has suffered from addiction and also through PTSD, I feel like this conversation can relate. So again, thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for responding to my message.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
To start, you mentioned that you were serving for 16 years in experience and you have experienced 8 deployments. That's a very incredible commitment. Can you walk us through what motivated you to join the Special Forces and what does deployment entails?
Initially, when I graduated college, I was just doing the same thing over and over, right? I stayed home, I stayed in my hometown. I wasn't doing as much, and I always had the bigger dreams to do something that was more impactful than, just doing what I was doing. So I enlisted into the United States military and had the opportunity to earn, my Green Beret, and that opened up a plethora of doors for me, positively and negatively. Throughout my career, I've experienced a lot of things. I've dealt with a lot. I've struggled with a lot of things. I created unhealthy and routine, and all of it was kind of, let's say, brushed off or eternalized, right? I never really brought to the surface. I did a good job, and that's one thing that the military does well, is to eternalize those struggles that you have with mental health. And as I continued to accumulate years of my service, it just compounded off each other, and years of deployments. I never really handle it in a healthy way. So that's when the addiction came in. And instead of communicating with it and talking about the struggles, the crutch was alcohol. And alcohol was able to bury it further down inside. And also alcohol was able to delay it from coming out, and eventually it had to.
And you mentioned that you achieved Green Beret. What is it, and what does it mean? And also you mentioned that it impacted your life positively and negatively. I would like to focus on the fact, how did it affect life negatively?
Yeah, so it affected life negatively. That was all I did, right? My marriage suffered through my military because I was only focused on the military. It allowed our society, I wouldn't say go as far as saying encourages, but drinking is socially accepted, and drinking, in excess, which I was doing to hide the way I was feeling or to mask the way I was feeling, turned into more about my marriage and whatnot. So those are the things that really impacted me negatively. Also, dealing with war. War is difficult. War is a traumatic event, and a lot of individuals, don't have to go to war to experience a traumatic event. And that's where I think the similarities with, the military and, the civilian population is yes, our traumatic experiences may differ, but we still cope with them the same way. We still have our unhealthy habits. And that's what makes it so important, I think, for transitioning out of the military and these veterans nowadays to really understand that we, although our traumatic differences are different, or we're experienced in a different environment, there's still there's still similarities to connect with, civilians out there that are providing resources to get out.
And again, you mentioned trauma, and as you said, that you don't need to be in heavy experience war in order for you to experience trauma, and trauma manifests itself in different ways according to individuals. So in a way, would you say that after experiencing the trauma of war, in a way, where you are, I would say, aware of what it meant to take care of mental health, and what services did the military offer you after you have left the military?
Yeah, to bring individuals home was everything, right? That was our core mission, is to always bring our fellow brothers and sisters home so they can experience, and be with their families. So that was everything. And the camaraderie that is established in the military is extremely strong. However, when you go from that being deployed and that, companionship, and then you try to transition into the companionship or a family life, that is a difficult transition because there are different needs and different expectations. For the military providing resources, there is a lot of resources out there. There's many nonprofit organizations that are out there that complement the VA. The VA is a great, massive program. It is massive. It reaches and has many, many resources. But with recovery and substance abuse and mental health, there's no one size shoe fits all. There's, different individuals need different resources or different treatment plans. And sometimes a massive organization may not have the time or the ability to really get to know that individual and really truly assess what he needs. So on my own, I've been able to, find these nonprofit organizations that really take the time to get to know you individually. And then with that, they're able to provide specific resources for each individual.
And you spoke about mental health, and as you spoke about mental health and the consumption of trying to hide that pain of having that experience with PTSD. And in what way did your addiction of alcohol disperse in terms of shifted from you think alcohol thing that you're covering that pain into affecting your own family?
Yes, absolutely. At first, it was, the whole phrase of the functional alcoholic, right? And people think that, I got drunk and I made some mistakes, but that's not me. Well, we have to look at it holistically, and we have to look at what caused you to overconsume. I'm a firm believer that alcoholism is a disease. I have a disease, and the program that I work at right now, the facility, that's how we view it. Alcoholism is a disease. We have a disease. There's a cure for that disease, and we try to instill those behaviors in an individual. But as coming through and handling trauma, you handle it. Sometimes it's over-consuming. And it consumes your brain to the part where you just want to escape reality. And alcohol is a means to escape reality in that instance. Although unhealthy way to escape reality, and there are many healthier ways to cope with that. But that's the main thing is being able to hit the pause button in life and escape it. And that's what I was doing, and I continued to do that for so long that those neuro pathways in my brain were so strong, right? Any stress, any of that, any, anxiety, depression, I've already paved the pathway to, I know the solution. My brain already knows the solution. Hey, you want to escape it? Or drink. That will help you. So you create these habits, these strong habits that, these individuals, it's oftentimes very difficult to break, because your brain has created such a strong routine, and the cause and effect, cause anxiety, depression, effect, I want to escape it. That's where the alcohol comes in.
As much as you said, that you escape reality, and sometimes as men, most of the time as men, we don't like talking about our mental well-being. As a society has, I would say, treated us as being men, or providing men shouldn't be able to be shouldn't be part of this conversation around mental health. Once you talk about mental health, it's seen as something of a weakness. And so as a man, when you seek help, instead of some people might bash, but some people might see it as a sign of a strength. So what was the turning point for you to seek help and to say that I need help?
Yeah, the stigma is there. Our society, as views males as as you're growing up, right? Is don't cry, don't show emotion, don't show feelings, and that's changing. And through these interactions with what we're doing now is It's showing that, to men that it's okay. Right? It's okay to have feelings. It's okay to talk. It's okay to not be okay, right? That's the best, I think, oftentimes individuals and myself would feel like, oh, I'm feeling these ways, depressed, I'm feeling hurt, or, my feelings are hurt or something along those lines. And it's like, oh, I can't feel that way. So you get more frustrated with yourself, right? Because you automatically feel like a failure. And so, yeah, I think as we continue to adapt in our society and continue to be more vocal, it will change, but it's going to take time. Now, the turning point for me, the turning point for me was I was doing nothing, right? Like every day, like that was my main goal, is to drink, right? That was it. I woke up and I felt nauseous, felt sick. And even with feeling those symptoms, I still was like, I still need to drink. That will make me feel better. And it was in a vicious cycle. I tried to stop myself. I tried to stop with involving loved ones. And it wasn't till I sat there and said, I can't control this anymore. This is not, something that I can handle by myself as a, man. I need external help. And I was able to get help through going to Treehouse Recovery, 3-month program at Treehouse Recovery, which taught me the knowledge behind the disease. I always knew that I knew some coping mechanisms and skills, but I didn't know the why. And as men, we oftentimes want to know the why. Why is this happening to me? Why can I not stop drinking? It wasn't until coupled with the knowledge, with my skill set, coping mechanisms, that I was able to replace my lifestyle, right? My entire life changed when I started.
I want just to go back to the thing that you said about in terms of addiction. I had a guest that was in a company where they dealt with people that were suffering from addiction, mostly substance abuse. And she said addiction is a symptom to something. And going back to that thing of trauma, of sometimes, again, I agree with you in terms of escaping reality. As much as we are escaping reality, we forget the people that we leave behind in terms of our families, your mother, father, your child, your wife, in terms things like that. And we think that through doing that, everything will be all right. We will feel better, but not only knowing that we're just increasing the damage we put ourselves into. So, and also I would like to ask in terms of the coping skills that you mentioned, what were they, and the audience that feel like they are downing themselves into alcohol, into addiction. Can you share those coping mechanisms with them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's and I've relapsed before, and I put a couple 18 months of sobriety before relapse last year. And just like you were saying, is just because I thought, well, if I take out alcohol out of my life, everything will magically get better. And no, I was deadly wrong. Life didn't stop, or life didn't take it easy on me because I stopped, drinking. It was still there, and there were still issues. So during those 18 months, I didn't have the coping mechanism. With the phrase of white knuckled it is I just didn't drink. I was still angry. I still had anxiety and depression. And this time, coming back from Treehouse Recovery, I was able to have these coping mechanisms. Well, it was the main things that I'm doing now is I do a decent job, and I'm not going to say great job because no one's perfect, at perception shift. And what I mean by perception shifting is in the event that things happen to us, right? We get laid off at our job, or job's not going as well as we want. Relationships aren't going well, or, just everyday life stressors that, family or children, the stressors that they bring. I look back and I sit there and I'm like, okay, well, I can do two things. I can go down and I can spiral downward and think negatively and have anxiety and resentment, or I can change it and say, hey, what I do additionally is I communicate that to someone else, because oftentimes we're able to talk to ourselves and we say it, internally, but it's more powerful when we verbalize it to another individual. So when things happen, if work wasn't going well or anything, say I get a flat tire,